Well, winter fishing, folks, you either love it or hate it, and I absolutely love it. The wind and the rain today has been absolutely incredible. We have had an amazing session though on the bank catching a load of fish. If you look behind me, this is how windy it's been. There's a tree on the island. That tree was upright at the start of our session, and we have had a mini hurricane that has blown that tree over. So you can tell it has been a really, really windy, rainy day. But the session started off amazingly. So we're gonna rewind and show you how we caught a load of fish on a short pole line here at Springvale. Right, it's time to feed that short line. So I don't wanna go overly mad with the bait on that short line, but I wanna give it a bit of a kickstart. So best thing to do that is ground bait. Now this is the Swim Stim Amino Black. I've mixed it to a really heavy state. I've done that by adding a lot of water to the mix, to the dry mix, and then pushing the resulting sort of like putty through a riddle to create this really fine but heavy ground bait. Incidentally, I've riddled all of the large particles off. And when I say large, this ground bait is really fine as it comes out of the bag, but I'd say there's still quite a few particles around 1 millimetre in diameter that I just want to get rid of. So I've riddled all those slightly larger particles off, and I've got a really, really fine but heavy ground bait. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create sort of like a golf ball, and I'm not really compacting it. I'm just making it so I know that that's going to break down before it hits the bottom. I want to create a bit of a carpet of bait on the bottom. I don't want a solid ball of bait on the bottom. Normally, I would feed my bait really loose in this pot. So if I was on shallow venues, I'd just literally pour the ground bait in and feed it like that, because it's really heavy. It will sink to the bottom as it is. But it's quite windy today. I know that means there's going to be a little bit of tow on the water, and I want to make sure that this ground bait at least gets halfway down before it starts breaking up. So we've got a ground bait mix there that is really soft. It almost wants to break up in my hand. When we put that in the water, it's going to get halfway. And literally, and you know what, I probably don't even need to do this, but I'm just going to give the fish a little taster of what we're putting on our hook, and I'm going to feed 6, 8, 10 maggots, something like that, in the pot, because maggots is what I plan to put on the hook. And also I'm going to feed a few maggots over the top. Like I say, this is just a bit of a Kickstarter. So we've already plumbed up, whereas in the summer months I'd probably be fishing short at around 5 metres in length. We've gone and probably a section further than we would do. And what I want to do is, when I get to the distance, this is the distance that I think I'm going to be fishing at. So full section out in front of me. I'm just going to pull it back a little tiny bit, probably 50 centimetres. And I'm just going to feed my bait 50 centimetres short of where I plan to fish. And that just means that I'm always going to be presenting my rig past that bait. It gives me the option as well to come back right on top of the bait. So we've fed that bait into the swim. Now, rig wise, for that short line and for most of my silverfish fishing, I love these sort of slim bodied floats. This is a Malman Dusty. It's got a titanium wire stem for a bit of stability, but also strength. I always think this titanium wire is a great happy medium between a carbon stem and a full-on wire stem. It's got a 1.5mm bristle. I've just blacked off the very tip of the bristle because we're faced with some white water today, and I always like to look at that little black spot on the water. I think it pings out a lot nicer. I've got 0.14 diameter main line, and then we've shotted the rig with number 10s all the way down. So we've got number 10s strung out to start with, because we don't know what's going to happen, all the way down. We've started off with a 6-inch gap here, a 5-inch gap, that should be a 4-inch, pull him down, 4-inch, 3-inch, and then a 2-inch gap. So everything's gradually getting further apart as we get down to our hook length, which is 8 inches. And we're going to start with an 0.10mm hook length. We've got some 0.8 in the box as well, but I think 0.10, barbless hook obviously. It's a little lovely long shank barbless hook. That is a old Preston PR, and I want to say 36, but I love these hooks for maggot fishing. I think they're a lovely little hook. So that is the setup. I've got a hollow elastic. This is rated 6 to 8, so lots of stretch in that hollow elastic. Interestingly, I've got really nice light elastic connection there. It's just a little rubber bead. The line loops behind a knot, and then that rubber bead can fit over the top of my knot just to neaten everything up. So lovely light elastic connection. And I've got a tiny pot on the end of my pole. I don't know whether I'm throwing bait to start with or potting bait in, but I always think potting bait in is probably the safest option. And you can see it's got a little hole at the top. If you find these in your bargain bin of your local tackle shop, sweep them up because they're a great little pot. You might have to open the holes out to fit larger diameter top kits, but these are the old pole pots that I think they're the original CAD pots. So you can fit a few maggots in there, probably 5 or 6 maggots. And then as we get out to our swim, we can just shake them out into our peg and obviously feed really accurately exactly where we want. Managed our feed, and I think that's going to be super important today. We're going to start on a single maggot, we're going to lay it in and just see what happens. Well, that's a lovely start. We didn't expect that. So we turned all the cameras off thinking it's going to take a while for a bite, but actually, first drop in, we've got a skimmer. This is the target species for today. It's just hooked just the side of his face, but he's going for the bait, that's all that matters. There we go, so he's probably about 10 ounces. Lovely fish to start the session. A couple of things though, just from laying that rig in, it's a windy old day. I could be up in the float size, I'm on a 4x12s at the moment. I could be up in the float size as we go through. And also, this shotting, it's strung out at the moment. I might have to tighten that all up and fish a little bit more direct, but we'll see how we get on. It's a lovely little dinky bite. We're trying to make adjustments all the time, and because there's some waves on the water that are a little bit dark, I'm actually going to scrape off that black paint because on that float tip, because I think it might be easier to fish with a yellow tip float in these dark waves. But we're just going to see, so just gently scratching that paint off might just give me a chance to see everything a little bit nicer. You've got to see your indications at this time of year. The bites can be so minute. Obviously we're using smaller dropper shots as well. The smaller the dropper shot you're using, generally, the smaller the bite you're going to get. So by dotting your float right down, you get to see every little indication, every little blip on that float. So I just need to take the very tip off of that paint. I think we'll see how that goes. I'm going to put a white maggot on because that's what we caught that fish on. First fish caught me a little bit unawares because I'm pretty sure the rules here state that you've got to just put your fish in your net with your landing net, and I didn't do that on that first fish, so we'll make sure we do it on this next one. I know that's definitely a rule for the carp here. We don't want to be dropping fish from a height, especially big fish, but better safe than sorry. We'll do that with all our fish from now on, I think. So we can just scour a few of those maggots in. That floats a lot easier to see now. Obviously a nice bright sunny day, hollow float tips. The sun shines through that float tip beautifully. Try and keep everything nice and still. Oh, there we go. Oh, well, I never expected this. It's an absolutely freezing cold day, you know. So to be able to get bites this fast is brilliant. Obviously with skimmers, nice soft elastic, try and keep everything nice and low right to the last minute, then we'll just lift up, net the fish. This is a good sign as well, the fact that I always think, you know, when the fish are all a similar size, you're on for a good day, because I always feel that that's a shoal of fish. When you catch one fish and he's a little bit, he doesn't look great, he's not in the best condition maybe, or you catch a pound fish, then your next fish is 6 ounce, and then your next fish is like 2 ounce. I always think you're on the end, you're on the sort of like, you're off the main shoal. But when you're catching fish that are the same stamp, hopefully you're in business for a good day. There's a few more maggots in that pot, not a load. There's obviously a few fish knocking around. I know we're fishing with a strung out rig. It's not necessarily about catching fish on the bottom. I always feel that just watching that bait fall through the water is key. So those fish might see that bait falling through the water, then they decide to take it. And that might be 20 seconds, 30 seconds after it's landed on the bottom. But if it bombs down through the water column, you're just not showing the fish the bait as effectively. And of course, you can get a few bites on the bottom, especially with on the drop, sorry, with maggots, because they sink so slow. So obviously, oh my word, what a lovely start. Again, nice and low with a pole tip. Let the elastic do its job. I mean, there's all sorts of species in this lake, so I know we're sort of targeting some skimmers, but we could catch anything. Springvale is renowned for being a real mixed venue. Oh, he's come off. He's come off. Maybe we've just foul hooked him. Slime though on the line, so it's definitely a skimmer. This is just things we've got to take into account, because if this float, with it being a 4x12s in this wind, is moving around a little bit too much, that's when you can foul hook an odd fish. So I've got no doubt that that fish was trying to probably go for the hook bait, but if everything's not still enough down there, that's when you can get a few problems with foul hookers. So again, we're just dropping those maggots in. If I can get my throwing arm in action later on in the session, that'd be really good, because when we hook a fish, feeding a few maggots as soon as we strike could be a really good way of sort of settling the fish down, getting them feeding on the bottom for when we present our rigging. But if we can try and keep everything nice and still, I mean, we're only fishing at 6 meters, but this wind is ever so nasty. We're just looking for that little tiny flicker on that pole float. Try and keep it nice and still. They've certainly come to that ground bait, haven't they? Straight away. Within a couple of minutes, the fish are coming to that swim stim black. And hopefully, because we fed little golf ball of ground bait, it's heavy, it's sitting on the bottom. Hopefully they hang around and they pick around that ground bait for a long period of time. Once I've got it nice and set, I want to try and keep it as still as possible. I'm not a big fan of lifting and dropping. Some venues it can work, but most of the time I'll try not to be lazy. I'll probably lift the whole rig out and reintroduce the rig again. I think a lot of the time the fish are sort of sitting mid-water, and following the bait down is a little bit better than when they're just lifting and dropping the rig. It's a really, really good start. Really impressed with how good the fishing here is at Springvale. That's why we come here so often for a day's fishing, because it's not just carp. It's a good bite, just as it's settled. There's plenty of carp in these lakes, but it's not all about carp here. A lot of the weights that you see here at Springvale, there could be anything. There could be chub, eyed, big weights of tench. Got my pole blowing around all behind me. Can we get another one? Here we go. I'll really take my time with this. If I was fishing maybe slightly shallower water, I'd probably be on even a lighter elastic than this elastic for catching these skimmers. But because it's a little bit deeper, and we could catch another fish, and it's not like we're trying to avoid any bigger fish today. There we go. Oh. This elastic's going to give me a chance of landing a carp, and obviously the line is just about strong enough for landing a carp. But I think we're just about sorted. We'll carry on going, and then you can come back to us when we make a couple of changes, because no doubt we're going to have to change a couple of things to keep these fish coming. I can't lie to you folks, the fishing has been absolutely brilliant. We've had a bit of a mix of skimmers and eyed mainly, and they've all been cracking fish. No tiny fish. There's not really many really small fish here in Springvale lakes anyway, so everything tends to be of a decent stamp. You probably noticed that we've not got the little pole mounted pot on anymore. That's because I've started throwing the bait. I'm just flicking a few maggots in now every time, and every time the swim dies I'll pot in another ball of ground bait. Not a load of ground bait, but just another, probably a little golf ball of ground bait, just to sort of kickstart it again. It's a brilliant kickstarter, the swim stim back ground bait is. So every now and again, I'm talking about sort of like every 40 minutes, I might have to put a little ball of ground bait in, but generally it's been a case of loose feeding maggots. Now, again, we're not talking loads of maggots. It's sort of like 4 or 5 maggots every time we go out, and we might do that 3 or 4 times while that rig's in the water. So just gonna flick in a few maggots there. I want to try and land the maggots short of my pole tip if I can. There we go. And quite often we're getting bites as that rig falls through the water. So I know earlier I was talking about maybe bulking that rig or fishing with a heavier rig. That's the last thing I really want to be doing, because these fish are really responding well to that loose feed, and I'm getting a lot of bites on the drops. So I want to get that nice slow fall of the bait through the water. So this is there you go, nice eyed. There's loads of these fish in these lakes, and they're a cracking fish to catch, especially at this time of year. They do tend to feed throughout the year, so no matter what time of year you're getting bites from those fish. So single maggot seems to be the best bait, and letting the rig fall through the water on a really tight line has been key. You can see the sun's gone in. I've blacked out the float tip again because it's just easier to see that little black dot now the sun's gone in. And there's a rule here at Springvale where you've got to have 12 inches of line between pole tip and float. So I love a short line, you know, but I've gone to that rule. So I've got bang on 12 inches of line between pole tip and float. I'm only fishing at 6 meters, so that 12 inches is enough to make sure that I'm not moving that float around in this gusty wind. I've got a couple of number 8 back shot halfway between the pole tip and the float to try and keep everything still. You can see that just as the bait gets to the full depth of the swim, we've got another fish on. I mean, this is brilliant fishing when you consider how cold the water must be to catch these fish so fast. It's another hide. It's lovely. It really is a good venue and makes things ever so easy as well, because there's a tackle shop on site. You can buy your bait here. They provide you with nets, so there's nets at every swim. They don't really want you to use your own nets because obviously fish welfare, and it just makes everything so much easier. And it's especially brilliant when you're catching fish like that every time you drop in. Well, what an amazing day. We started off with beautiful conditions for fishing, but as you can see, the weather has turned horrendous. We've had kit blowing in, we've had trees blowing down. It has been that windy, but we've fished for about 2.5 hours until the conditions were against us, and we've had an amazing net of fish. Beautiful conditions, skimmers, lovely eyed, all by kickstarting our swim with that Swim Stim Amino black ground bait, then loose feeding maggots over the top. A great day's fishing. We've probably got 25 pound of fish maybe in this net. Let's get them back. I'm definitely coming back to Springvale again. I love this place, especially in the winter. As I always say, you can't catch them if you're sitting in front of the fire. You've got to get out on the bank, have a go, even if it's freezing cold.